Akshobhya's Buddha field. Thereupon the Lord on that occasion exercised his wonder-working power. The entire assembly, monks, nuns, laymen and laywomen, gods, nagas, yakshas, gandharvas, asuras, garudas, kinnaras, maharagas, men and ghosts, they all, through the Buddha's might, saw the Tathagata Akshobhya surrounded by the congregation of monks, accompanied by a retinue of bodhisattvas demonstrating Dharma, in an assembly which was vast like the ocean, deep and imperturbable, surrounded and accompanied by bodhisattvas who were endowed with unthinkable qualities, all of them arhats, their outflows exhausted, undefiled, fully controlled, quite freed in their hearts, well freed and wise, thoroughbreds, great serpents, their work done, their task accomplished, their burden laid down, their own will accomplished, with the fetters that bound them to becoming extinguished, their hearts well freed by right understanding, in perfect control of their entire hearts. Thereupon the Lord again withdrew his wonder-working power. The Lord Akshobhya, the Tathagata, then no longer appeared, and all of those bodhisattvas and great disciples and that Buddha field no longer came within the range of vision of the members of the Lord's assembly. For the Tathagata had drawn in his wonder-working power, and the Lord said to Ananda, "In the same way, Ananda, all dharmas do not come within the range of vision. Dharmas do not come within the range of vision of dharmas. Dharmas do not know dharmas, for all dharmas are of such a nature that they can be neither known nor seen, and they are incapable of doing anything. For all dharmas are inactive. They cannot be grasped, because they are as inactive as space. All dharmas are unthinkable, similar to illusory men. All dharmas are unfindable, because they are in a state of non-existence. When he or she courses thus, a bodhisattva courses in perfect wisdom, and he or she does not settle down in any dharma. When he or she trains thus, a bodhisattva trains in perfect wisdom. If a bodhisattva wants to attain the great enlightenment, which is the highest perfect of all training, then he or she should train in perfect wisdom. For the training in perfect wisdom has been described as the foremost of all trainings, as the best, the choicest, the most excellent, the most sublime, the highest, the utmost, the unequaled, the incomparable. It has been said to bring benefit and happiness to all the world. It has been described as a protector of the helpless. It has been ordained and extolled by the Buddha. The Tathagatas could, as a result of training in this perfection of wisdom, of having stood in this training, lift up the great Trichiliakasam with one big toe, and then just let it drop again. But it would not occur to those Buddhas and Lords that this great Trichiliakasam has been lifted up, has been dropped again. For perfect wisdom is endowed with immeasurable and incalculable qualities. As a result of training in this training of perfect wisdom, the Buddhas and Lords have reached a state of non-attachment to past, future, and present dharmas. Of all the possible trainings in the past, future, and present period, this training in perfect wisdom is the foremost, the best, the choicest, the most excellent, the most sublime, the highest, the utmost, the unequaled, the incomparable. Extinction, non-extinction, and perfect wisdom. For perfect wisdom has no limits. It is inexhaustible and boundless. Because limits, exhaustion, and bounds are absent in perfect wisdom. To attribute limits, exhaustion, and bounds to perfect wisdom would be like attributing them to space. For the perfection of wisdom is unlimited, inexhaustible, and boundless. I have not taught that the perfection of wisdom has any limits, that it can be exhausted, that it has any bounds. The sum total of the words contained in this sutra on perfect wisdom certainly has its limits, but not so the perfection of wisdom itself. For the sum total of words in this sutra is not identical with the perfection of wisdom itself. Perfect wisdom itself is not subject to any limitations. It is without any limits whatever. Ananda asked, "For what reason again has the Lord not taught any limits to perfect wisdom?" The Lord said, "Because it is inexhaustible and isolated. One cannot even apprehend the isolatedness of an isolated Dharma. How much less can there be a definite circumference to it? Thus, as beyond all measurements, the perfection of wisdom is unlimited, without any limits whatever. The Tathagatas of the past have drawn their strength from just this perfection of wisdom, and yet it has not been exhausted nor become extinct. The Tathagatas of the future also shall draw their strength from just this perfection of wisdom, and yet it shall not be exhausted, shall not become extinct. Those Tathagatas also who just now reside in countless world systems, they also draw their strength from just this perfection of wisdom, and yet it does not become exhausted or extinct. I also, who am a Tathagata just now, I also draw my strength from just this perfection of wisdom, and yet it does not become exhausted or extinct. One can exhaust the perfection of wisdom no more than one can exhaust space. This perfection of wisdom is therefore quite inexhaustible." Thereupon it occurred to the Venerable Subhuti, "Deep is the station which the Tathagata has taught. Let me then now question the Tathagata about this station." And Subhuti said to the Lord, "Inexhaustible, O Lord, is perfect wisdom." The Lord said, "Because it cannot become extinct, since, like space, it cannot be extinguished, and since all dharmas have not been produced." Subhuti asked, "How should a bodhisattva consummate the perfection of wisdom?" The Lord said, "Through the non-extinction of form, etc., through the non-extinction of ignorance, of the karma formations, of consciousness, of name and form, of the six sense fields, of contact, of feeling, of craving, of grasping, of becoming, of birth, of decay and death, of grief, lamentation, pain, sadness, and despair." In this manner the bodhisattva surveys conditioned co-production in such a way that he or she avoids the duality of the extremes. He or she surveys it without seeing any beginning, end, or middle. To survey conditioned co-production in such a manner, that is the special dharma of the bodhisattva who is seated on the terrace of enlightenment. When he or she thus surveys conditioned co-production, he or she acquires the cognition of the all-knowing. For a bodhisattva who, while he or she courses in perfect wisdom through this consummation of non-extinction, surveys conditioned co-production, cannot stand on the level of disciple or pratyeka Buddha, but he or she must stand in all knowledge. Some bodhisattvas may turn away from supreme enlightenment if, because they have failed to resort to these mental activities which aspire to the consummation of non-extinction and to this skill in means, they do not know how a bodhisattva who courses in perfect wisdom should consummate perfect wisdom through the consummation of non-extinction, and how conditioned co-production should be surveyed in the perfection of wisdom through the consummation of non-extinction. All bodhisattvas who at any time turn away from full enlightenment do so because they did not resort to this skill in means. All those bodhisattvas who at any time do not turn away from full enlightenment do so thanks to this perfection of wisdom. In this way should a bodhisattva who courses in perfect wisdom consummate perfect wisdom through the consummation of non-extinction. And in this way should conditioned co-production be surveyed in the perfection of wisdom through the consummation of non-extinction. A bodhisattva who thus surveys conditioned co-production does certainly not review any dharma that is being produced without a cause, Nor does he or she review any dharmas as permanent, stable, eternal, not liable to reversal. Nor does he or she review any dharmas as a doer or a feeler. This is the surveying of conditioned co-production on the part of a bodhisattva who consummates this perfection of wisdom through the consummation of non-extinction, and who courses in this perfection of wisdom. At the time when a bodhisattva, consummating the perfection of wisdom through the consummation of non-extinction, surveys conditioned co-production, at that time he or she does not review form as if it were a real separate entity, nor feelings, perceptions, impulses, or consciousness, nor ignorance, karma formation, etc., to decay and death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, sadness, and despair. Nor does he or she review the fact that this is my Buddha field, as if it were real, nor the fact that that is another Buddha field. Nor does he or she review as real any dharma by which he or she could distinguish between this and other Buddha fields. This subhuti is the perfection of wisdom of the bodhisattvas, the great beings. Advantages derived from perfect wisdom. When a bodhisattva courses in perfect wisdom, Mara, the evil one, feels struck with the dark of great sorrow, just as a man does when his mother or father have died. Subhuti asked, "Is this affliction confined to one Mara, or does it affect many Maras, or does it extend to all the Maras in the great Trichiliacosm?" The Lord said, "At the time when bodhisattvas dwell in the dwelling of perfect wisdom, at that time all the Maras in the great Trichiliacosm feel struck with the dart of great sorrow, and they cannot sit still on their respective thrones, for the entire world with its gods, men, and asuras cannot gain entry to a bodhisattva who dwells within the dwelling of perfect wisdom. It cannot gain a foothold which would allow it to take possession of him, to hurt him, to turn him away from full enlightenment. Therefore then, Subhuti, a bodhisattva who wants to know full enlightenment should course in perfect wisdom. For in a bodhisattva who courses in perfect wisdom, the perfection of giving arrives at its most perfect development, and so do the perfections of morality, patience, vigor, and concentration. In him or her all the 6 perfections arrive at their most perfect development, and also all the varieties of skill and means. Whatever deeds of Mara may arise in a bodhisattva who courses in perfect wisdom, he or she shall wisely know them when they are taking place, and he or she shall get rid of them again. A bodhisattva who wants to acquire all the varieties of skill and means should course in perfect wisdom and develop it. At the time when a bodhisattva courses in perfect wisdom and aspires for it, he or she should bring to mind not only the Buddhas and Lords who reside in countless world systems, but also their all-knowledge, which has come forth from this perfection of wisdom. He or she should then produce the thought that, "Also, I shall reach those dharmas which those Buddhas and Lords have reached." For a day, or even down to the time taken up by a finger snap, should a bodhisattva who courses in perfect wisdom raise such thoughts and aspire to them. A bodhisattva who would even for one day, or even for the duration of a finger snap, aspire for this perfection of wisdom, would beget more merit than a bodhisattva who leans on a basis and who for countless eons gives gifts. Such a bodhisattva will stand in irreversibility. A bodhisattva who courses in perfect wisdom, and who, even for a day, or even for the duration of a finger snap, raises such thoughts, has, we know, been brought to mind by the Tathagatas. How much more so one who daily pursues such thoughts? What future destiny would one expect a bodhisattva to have whom the Tathagatas have brought to mind? No other destiny except full enlightenment can be expected of him. He cannot possibly be reborn in the states of woe. One must expect that he will be reborn in heaven, and that even there he will not be without the Tathagatas, and that he will mature beings. These are the qualities and advantages of a bodhisattva who courses in perfect wisdom, who aspires for perfect wisdom, and who raises such thoughts, if even for the length of a finger snap. How much greater will be the advantage of one who pursues such thoughts daily, as, for instance, the Bodhisattva Gandhahasin, who just now leads the holy life in the presence of the Tathagata Akshobhya.